Today, we're going to be talking about 3 ways to get your first midterm rental lead this week without spending money. Most people think when you get started in midterm rentals, it's going to require a ton of money or fancy tools or websites, ads, courses. The truth is you don't actually need any of that stuff at all to get your first lead, which is kind of contrary to me being on this page right now where I have a coaching program and all that stuff. But honestly, I think you could do this on your own. I do think it makes it a lot easier for you if you are trying to build, because you're stealing like my 10,000 hours or somebody's been doing this for a while. But if you guys want to know exactly where to start, who I'm talking to in these spaces, let's dive right into it. I think right now the biggest problem that most people have, people feel stuck 9 out of 10 times. You're overthinking what you need to have. You're overthinking the types of connections that you're making, thinking everything needs to be automated first. I hear a lot of that, thinking that only leads come from Furnish Finder or Airbnb. You don't have a lead problem. You have a conversion problem or a conversation problem. I think that's one of the biggest issues that people are facing today in the midterm rental space. If you are looking at not being a lazy landlord, because I've heard somebody talk about lazy landlords before in the past, where it's like you're going to list your property and you're going to list it on Airbnb and Furnish Finder and wait for bookings and optimize your listing to make it look so good. And that's what I consider lazy landlording. And the problem with that is that 99% of people are doing that exact same thing. And as midterm rentals right now are starting to become more of an asset class, you're going to have to stand out. And as that saturation comes through, that's where the big issues that you're going to run into. So the first tactic that I'm going to go in with you guys today is going to be super simple. It's nothing complicated. And one of the best and easiest ways, Facebook groups. Facebook is not dead when it comes to prospecting, when it comes to actually growing a business. I think it's one of the best ways that you can continue to build a significant following in this space by actually being able to connect with other people. The groups that I've used, the Gypsy Nurse Travel Nurse Network, I've used that one, Healthcare Travelers Support Group, local Facebook relocation and rental groups, like those are other things you could do. What you do not want to do when you go into these kinds of things is not spam. Don't drop links of your property. Don't say I have an Airbnb available. Most people do that, and that is absolutely not the way you want to do this. It's one of the worst things to do on the planet when it comes to actually getting your place booked, because most people are going to look at that and be like, I don't want to deal with this guy. He seems like a pain in the butt. Well, instead, what I would do is write in, hey, everybody, I live here locally and I have fully furnished properties available, looking for people that need 30+ day stays. If anybody's relocating on a contract or needs a temporary place while relocating, I'm happy to help. Feel free to DM me anytime. That's exactly what I do every single time. It's by far one of the better strategies when it comes to dropping in notes in the Facebook groups. I do think that a lot of people just go crazy in there. In fact, in our private free Facebook group that we have, people are always putting their links in there. That's not going to help anybody. It's the opposite thing of you actually wanting to do. For me, I think it's way more important to actually go into the groups where you're going to be able to find the people that are actually traveling. That's going to be an important piece of the puzzle. Engage with the comments. This is another thing that I see people do. They'll post in there, somebody will write something, nobody's responding back. Engage in the comments. Look for people posting about relocating. This is also another big deal. There's a ton of relocations. In fact, Furnish Finder, they were at my summit that I did this year, and during that presentation that they had on stage, they talked about relocation, like people moving from one place to another, and they need temporary house for 30, 60, 90 days, however long they may be, while they're trying to find a new house in a new market. You want to be connecting with those people. Send DMs to people asking for housing. The goal isn't to get bookings immediately, it's to start conversations that turn into relationships, and that is where leads happen. I think a lot of times people forget that that's actually how leads end up being set up that way. Number 2 is realtor and property management outreach, or property manager outreach. This is actually what I tell my students a lot of the times when they're stuck and they're just like, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed with too many things going on right now. Okay, let's go back to the basics. Realtors have clients who are in escrow and they can't move in yet. They're relocating temporarily. Insurance claims with temporary housing needs. These happen all the time. Property managers sometimes get owners looking for flexible solutions. This happens all the time. And as I mentioned a little bit ago with Furnish Finder putting up that new data, it was like a crazy stat. Year over year, it's been growing by over 100%, which is insane. So that this type of client is so available. In fact, I've had it so many times. So who you're actually going to want to target for this part, you're going to want to connect with realtors who are dealing with relocation experience, insurance brokers, property managers who don't have furnished options. You guys, that's important. So your local property management companies, you want to connect with them. Here's another tip, a bonus tip. I actually offer the realtors a $250 bonus if they end up sending me a client. And a lot of times, again, realtors are actually looking for people. They're looking for connections just like a lot of us are. And realtors want to connect with people just like you that have property that's furnished, that is available for people to be able to rent. But I think it's important, again, incredibly important, that you bring that to their attention so that they can connect with folks and be able to understand what you're doing, see it in a different way, and actually start to build those relationships. Because again, at the end of the day, this is a relationship-based business. So head over to meetups, go into real estate offices. Don't be afraid to do that. In fact, the people that I see winning right now are going to realtors' offices. They're talking about what they do. They're talking about how they're connecting with midterm rental guests, and they're talking about this. They're actually finding a need. So what are realtor problems right now? What issues that people have? Relocation with realtors, they're looking for people that have housing that can accommodate somebody moving in today. Really important to do that, especially if you're in like Nashville or Austin or San Francisco, one of these big markets where people are moving to all the time. Please do that. These are all easy peasy wins that you guys can have, like stuff you can actionably start taking today, actions you can start doing literally this week to start building this business. So again, I'm urging you guys to think about these things. They're not overly complicated. They're not too far for reach. You don't have to have everything together yet. You don't need to have like a fully built out website, but what you do need to have, you need to have a landing page. And this is going to be important, you guys. Why does a landing page actually matter? And again, when I say landing page, it doesn't need to be like a page that shows all your properties. It doesn't need to be any of that. It just needs to be literally a page that talks about what you do. Why this actually matters? Because people want something to click on. They just do. People love to be able to see information, be able to click on it, understand what you're doing, how you operate, why you're doing what you do. They want to do that. And a clean link actually builds instant trust. I think people don't actually realize that you can build trust by actually having a simple landing page. And you can actually start doing this today. You can head over to Wix.com. There's AI out now that allows you to build web pages for free. You can go on Fiverr and just have somebody build you out a simple landing page that's not going to cost you more than $150. Again, we just want a page that talks about what you do. So that could be lead connecting. It could be placement for folks that are looking for property. It could be connections with realtors. It could be markets that you're operating in. It can literally be all that. You don't need to have a calendar availability window, any of that stuff. You just need to have information that shows you what you're doing, how you're operating, who you're going after, all those types of things. So incredibly important to think about a landing page. Again, it doesn't have to be a full big old page that has all this stuff in it, but that's what's actually going to build credibility with you in the space. And I think, again, a lot of times people that are trying to build aren't actually thinking about it that much in detail. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to build something of significance that people are going to know, like, and trust you. And I've watched this happen where people don't have a landing page yet. They'll still make deals. They'll still happen. But again, you want to have something where people can actually see what you're doing, how you're operating on just a simple page, even if it's just a picture of you, like, with your thumbs up on the bottom, and just talks about what you do, the types of folks you place. That's all it needs to be. And you can talk about what cities you're in, you can talk about what markets you're in, how you work with insurance companies, and it doesn't need to be crazy. Again, just something very simple. So for me, that's exactly what I do. I like to make sure that my page is up and you can look at it and see what I have available. So if you guys go to airventurehosting.com, that's a page that shows exactly what we do and where I operate. So you can check that out, and it'll show you, it talks about literally what we do. And again, you don't need to build a $3,000 website. My page is actually that expensive. It's literally like $3,500, $3,600. You don't need to have something that dramatic. It just needs to be very simple, something you could spend $150 on through Fiverr or somebody that you know, or even Wix.com, like I mentioned before. That's what I actually did my first website on. I had no experience with websites at all. That's how I started my first page. It was literally that right there. So again, what do we want to do this week, you guys? What's our recap? What's our goal? What's our action plan? I'm giving you guys homework if you're watching this right now. If you want to build something significant or actually create a business in the midterm rental space, 3 things you got to do. Join 3 Facebook groups today and make 1 post. Again, we talked about what to post. We talked about how to do it. DM or email 5 realtors. And if you can, build your free landing page. If you actually want to build something, you need to actually take action. And this will actually help you with your first lead conversion that can actually happen this week. You just need to have some simple action. You need to have some conviction about what you're doing. You need to go to the right places. Facebook is free. It does not cost anything. You're going to be direct messaging or reaching out, or my favorite is actually meeting with realtors in person. How I built my business is I actually went into all the local real estate offices and during their weekly sales meetings, and I pitched about what I do, how I operate, how I can help the realtors. And all it took was 1 realtor to see what I was doing, to understand the level of operation that I was trying to put in. This is when I was fresh, when I was still pretty new. From that one relationship that I built with a guy named Daniel, it all of a sudden started to move up. And he saw that I was significant help to other realtors in the market by running numbers for their clients, which was free. I didn't charge them anything for it. When they had properties that they needed to relocate somebody in, they would reach out to me for run numbers for their investors. And before I knew it, I started building a co-hosting business by literally just connecting connecting with realtors in my market. So you guys, this is not rocket science stuff, all right? The craziest thing about this is you have to understand that most people aren't willing to do this actual work. Even doing those 3 simple things, these are the things that you have to do. You don't have to understand everything right away, but you just need to get started. You need to take action. And that's where most people get stuck. 99% of the time, they're not willing to take action. They're scared to fail. They're scared to have somebody tell them they don't like their idea, or that their place isn't going to work, or that they're not looking for that. So what? And if they do tell you that, what is it, the end of the world? You're not going to die. Nobody's going to die from that. You just chalk it up and you move on to the next one. Again, I think so many people think that they need to have everything together. The reality is you don't. You just need to take action. And that's exactly what you got to do. So if you want help building your first midterm rental leads, like step by step, I do that. I go way deeper inside AirVenture Academy, which you guys have heard about before. Shoot me a DM if you're interested in that.